a state constitutional amendment that was initiated by Republicans and passed as a result of fear-mongering related to Obamacare, was just used to uphold the woman's right to an abortion. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's get into this. So in Wyoming, 2012, right in the midst of Obamacare, Republican state legislatures told the people that they needed to pass a state constitutional amendment to protect their right to health care, that Obamacare mandates were going to strip their rights and they should make sure there was no government interference in their right with health care. So overwhelmingly, a state constitutional amendment passed. About 70% of Wyoming state residents voted in favor of this state constitutional amendment. The amendment reads that every adult, each competent adult, has the right to make his or her own healthcare decisions, and that the state of Wyoming has to preserve these rights from undue governmental infringement. Now, at the time, they said that this was necessary to protect the residents against mandates in Obamacare, that somehow they weren't going to be able to choose which kind of medical services they needed or required or wanted. As we know, Obamacare mandates basically said that an individual has to have health insurance and that an employer has to give health insurance to their employees. Very basic rights, essentially, to healthcare, and in order a way to make healthcare insurance accessible and available to everybody. But Republicans never liked Obamacare. They didn't then, they did it now, and they were able to use fear-mongering and made it sound like somehow Obamacare was going to take away people's right to go see the doctor of their choice or to get whatever care they wanted. Well, let's fast forward a little bit. And of course, as we know, Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade with Dobbs. And the decision was left to the states as to whether or not to ban or allow abortion. Well, Wyoming became the first state to not only pass a law with the state legislature, not a constitutional amendment, but with the state legislature, pass a law banning abortion, but they also became the first state to pass a law banning the abortion pill. This state that was so worried about making sure to have access to healthcare, or really were so worried about Obamacare being successful that they had to have this anti-Obamacare crusade and constitutional amendment, because anybody who really understood Obamacare knew it wasn't going to take away people's access to healthcare. Well, they just gave access to healthcare to women, a group I'm sure they were not trying to protect, a right certainly they were not trying to protect. Well, their Wisconsin State Supreme Court just ruled that that constitutional amendment, which says that every competent adult has a right to health care against undue government infringement, well, that state law banning abortion and a banning abortion pill is a government infringement on a woman's choice to have an abortion. So by them trying to restrict access to healthcare with trying to somehow block measures of Obamacare, they actually inadvertently gave more access to women's healthcare. Now, these Supreme Court justices were all nominated by Republican governors. Wyoming is a very Republican state. They conceded in their opinion that the only way for them to have ruled in a way for the people who want to restrict abortion is if the language was changed in this constitutional amendment. They say they understand that this constitutional amendment wasn't meant to give a right to an abortion, but there is no language limiting that right to health care in it, and they cannot put that language in there. These Republican-appointed Supreme Court justices conceding the fact. They said exactly, voters approved the constitutional amendment in 2012 in response to the Federal Affordable Care Act. The justices recognized that the amendment wasn't written to apply to abortion, but it is not their job to, quote, add words to the state constitution. making it clear that this language was so broad, it even protected a woman's right to choose. There's nothing quite like ending the day on the couch with a great blanket, and Lola Blankets has become my favorite blanket because it is soft, luxurious looking. It is lightweight, yet just warm enough. And the great thing about it is you can put it in the wash over and over. I have a dog and cat and kids, and it still looks good. No wonder it is the world's #1 blanket. It is definitely my family's favorite blanket by far. In fact, I look forward to getting another one with this new promotion we're having. So Lola has an ultra soft luxury faux fur and a signature 4-way stretch that sets it apart. It's machine washable, double hemmed for durability, and stays flawless. No pilling, no shedding, even after repeated washes. I have the large. There is even an extra large, which is considered the biggest blanket on the internet. They have weighted blankets, travel size, matching pillows, anything you can want. And my favorite thing about the brand is they also donate a portion of their proceeds to breast cancer research and have a program called Blankets for the Brave, where they give blankets to people living with breast cancer. So I can feel really good about supporting the company while I enjoy their blankets. And right now, for a limited time, our listeners get 40% off select Lola blanket products with code MISTRIAL at checkout. Just head to lolablankets.com and use code MISTRIAL to get 40% off your order. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and let them know we sent you. Wrap yourself in luxury with Lola Blankets. This ruling was a win for the sole abortion clinic in Wyoming, meaning that abortion and the abortion pill will remain legal. Now, the justices conceded that the state could pass a constitutional amendment that makes it clear that they're restricting abortion. And the Republican governor there, Mark Gordon, has already issued a statement calling on the state legislature to come up with a constitutional amendment. Now, this constitutional amendment would be quite interesting because it would evidently say that every competent adult except a woman has a right to health care against government interference, making it very explicit how Republicans think about women and their health care choices. Now, the Wyoming State Senator Leslie Newting that basically advocated for this amendment, the main sponsor of the amendment at the time, said that the measure, quote, simply gives rights to Wyoming citizens. And if the healthcare law gets changed, it would let the legislature determine what is right for Wyoming. She said that having this constitutional amendment would, quote, give us an advantage rather than a disadvantage in seeing what things we want to keep and what things should go, end quote. Now, first of all, that is not actually how it works. Federal law preempts state law in this situation. So they could not pick and choose what part of Obamacare they liked based on this state constitutional amendment. It was an incompetent attempt to block parts of Obamacare. In fact, it was never used by residents or people in any respect with Obamacare. It was political theater. It was a way of riling up the base about saying how awful this Obamacare is. And that's why it's especially ironic and especially delicious that it's being used now against those same people who are trying to take this healthcare, this very private and personal healthcare right from women, this political incompetent theater. Ironically, they were trying to make it harder for people to have healthcare then, and in this way, again, tried to make it harder for women to have healthcare, and it backfired. All of this, of course, coming at a time as Obamacare is under attack again, letting the subsidies expire, and who knows what Trump plans on planning and whether or not he's going to put his name on it instead of Trump Care. It seems as if healthcare is always under attack by the Republican Party, whether or not they try to do it with a nonsensical state constitutional amendment or here by taking away a woman's right to choose. But in this case, they lose because of their own incompetent actions. My name is Dina Doll. Be sure to follow the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe now and follow the Mistrial podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And be sure to check out the Mistrial sponsors. So grateful for our sponsors right now because they do not censor what I have to say. And that is so critically important in this moment.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.